Leviticus chapter 13. Then Adonai spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, saying, when a man has a swelling on the skin of his body, or a scab, or a bright spot, and it becomes a plague mark of Tza'arat in his flesh, then he shall be brought to Aaron and the Kohen, or to one of his sons, the Kohanim. The Kohen is to examine the plague of Tza'arat on his skin, and if the hair in the plague has turned white, and the appearance of the plague is deeper than the body skin, it is the plague of Tza'arat. Thus the Kohen shall examine him and pronounce him unclean. If the bright spot is white in the skin of his body, but its appearance is not deeper than the skin, and its hair has not turned white, then the Kohen is to isolate the infected person for 7 days. The Kohen shall examine him on the 7th day, and behold, if he sees the plague has not spread in the skin, then the Kohen is to isolate him for 7 more days. The Kohen is to examine him again on the 7th day, and behold, if the plague has faded and has not spread in the skin, then the Kohen shall pronounce him clean. It is a scab. He is to wash his clothes and be clean. But if the scab spreads on the skin after he has shown himself to the Kohen for his cleansing, he is to show himself to the Kohen once again. The Kohen is to examine him, and if the scab has spread on the skin, then the Kohen shall pronounce him unclean. It is Tza'arat. Then when one has a plague of Tza'arat, he is to be brought to the Kohen. The Kohen is to examine him, and behold, if there is a white swelling in the skin, and it has turned the hair white, and if there is raw flesh in the swelling, it is a chronic Tza'arat in the skin of his flesh, and the Kohen is to pronounce him unclean. He is to isolate him, for he is unclean. Suppose that Tza'arat breaks out above the flesh, and so far as it all appears in the eyes of the Kohen, covers all the skin of the infected person from the head to his feet, then the Kohen will see, and behold, if the Tza'arat has covered all of his body, he is to pronounce him clean of the plague. Since it has all turned white, he is clean. But whenever raw flesh appears upon him, he will be unclean. The Kohen is to examine the raw flesh and pronounce him unclean. The raw flesh is unclean, it is Tza'arat. Or if the raw flesh changes and turns white, and then he must come to the Kohen. The Kohen is to examine him, and behold, if the plague has turned white, then the Kohen shall pronounce him clean of the plague. He is clean. When the body has a boil on its skin, and it was healed, but in the place of the boil there is a white swelling, or a bright reddish white spot, then it shall be shown to the Kohen. The Kohen is to examine it, and behold, if its appearance is lower than the skin, and its hair has turned white, then the Kohen is to pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of Tza'arat that has broken out within the boil. But if the Kohen examines it and sees there are no white hairs within, and if it is not deeper than the skin, but is faded, then the Kohen is to isolate him 7 days. If it spreads in the skin, then the Kohen is to pronounce him unclean. It is a plague. But if the bright spot stays in its place and has not spread, it is merely the scar from the boil. The Kohen is to pronounce him clean. Or suppose the body has a burn from fire on its skin, and the raw flesh of the burn becomes a bright spot, reddish white or white, then the Kohen is to examine it, and behold, if the hair in the bright spot has turned white, and its appearance is deeper than the skin, it is Tza'arat. It has broken out in the burning, and the Kohen is to pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of Tza'arat. But if the Kohen examines it and sees there is no white hair in the bright spot, and it is not lower than the skin but is faded, then the Kohen is to isolate him 7 days. The Kohen is to examine him on the 7th day. If it has spread in the skin, then the Kohen is to pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of Tza'arat. If the bright spot stays in its place and has not spread in the skin but is faded, it is a swelling from the burn, and the Kohen shall pronounce him clean, for it is merely a scar from the burn. When a man or a woman has a plague on the head or on the chin, then the Kohen is to examine the plague, and behold, if its appearance is deeper than the skin, and the hair in it is yellow and thin, then the Kohen is to pronounce him unclean. It is a scab, tza'arat of the head or the chin. If the Kohen examines the plague of the scab, and behold, its appearance is no deeper than the skin, there is no black hair within, then the Kohen is to isolate the person infected with the scab for 7 days. On the 7th day of Kohen is to examine the plague, and behold, if the scab has not spread, and there is no yellow hair in it, and the appearance of the scab is no deeper than the skin, then he shall be shaved, but he is not to shave the scab. The Kohen is then to isolate the one who has the scab for 7 more days. On the 7th day, the Kohen is to examine the scab, and behold, if the scab has not spread in the skin, its appearance is no deeper than the skin, then the Kohen shall pronounce him clean. He is to wash his clothes and be clean. But if the scab spreads in the skin after his cleansing, then the Kohen is to examine him, and behold, if the scab has spread in the skin, and Kohen may not look for the yellow hair, he is unclean. But if he sees the scab is stopped, and black hair has grown in it, the scab is healed, and he is clean. The Kohen shall pronounce him clean. Suppose a man or a woman has bright spots on the skin of the body, bright white spots, then the Kohen is to examine them, and behold, if the bright spots on the skin of their body are a dull white, it is a harmless rash broken out in the skin. He is clean. If a man's hair has fallen from his head, he is bald, he is clean. Or if the border of his face become bald, his forehead is bald, he is clean. If on the bald head or bald forehead there is a reddish white plague, it is tza'arat breaking out in his bald head or bald forehead. Then the Kohen is to examine him, and behold, if the rising of the plague is reddish white on his bald head or bald forehead, like the appearance of tza'arat in the skin of the flesh, he is a man with tza'arat, he is unclean. The Kohen shall definitely pronounce him unclean. His plague mark is on his head. The one with tza'arat who has the plague mark shall wear torn clothes, and the hair of his head is to hang loose. He is to cover his upper lip and cry, unclean, unclean. All the days during which the plague is on him, he will be unclean. He is to dwell alone. Outside of the camp will be his dwelling. Also, when a garment has a mark of tza'arat on it, whether it is a woolen or a linen garment, whether it is woven or textured, linen or wool, leather, or anything made from leather, or if the mark is greenish or reddish within the garment, or in the leather, or in the weaving of the texture, or in anything made from leather, it is the plague of tza'arat, and shall be shown to the Kohen. The Kohen is to examine the plague and isolate it for 7 days. Then he is to re-examine the plague on the 7th day. If the plague has spread in the garment, either in the weaving, the texture, or the leather, whatever the use for the leather may be, the plague is the destructive mildew. It is unclean. He is to burn the garment, or the weaving, or the texture, wool or linen, or anything of leather in which the plague resides, for it is a destructive mildew. It is to be burned in the fire. If the Kohen examines it, and behold, the plague has not spread in the garment, either in the weaving, the texture, or in anything made of leather, the Kohen shall command that they wash the thing which has the mark, and he is to isolate it 7 more days. Then the Kohen is to re-examine it after the mark has been washed, and behold, if the mark has not changed its color and has not spread, it is unclean. You are to burn it in the fire, whether the rot is inside or outside. If the Kohen looks and sees the mark has faded after it has been washed, Then he is to tear it out of the garment, or the leather, or weaving, or texture. But if it appears again in the garment, either in the weaving, the texture, or in anything made of leather, it is spreading. You are to burn with fire whatever has the mark, the garment, or weaving, or texture, or whatever leather item it is that you have washed. If the mark has departed from it, is to be washed a second time and will become clean. This is the Torah for a mark of tza'arat in a garment of wool or linen, either in the weaving, the texture, or in anything or leather, to pronounce it clean or to pronounce it unclean. Chapter 14. Then Adonai spoke to Moshe, saying, This is the Torah of the one with tza'arat in the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought to the Kohen, and the Kohen is to go to the outside of the camp. The Kohen is to examine him, and behold, if the mark of tza'arat is healed in one with tza'arat, then the Kohen is to command that 2 clean living birds, cedar wood, scarlet, and hyssop, be brought for the one being cleansed. The Kohen shall command them to kill one of the birds in a clay pot over living water. As for the living bird, he is to take it, the cedar wood, the scarlet, and the hyssop, dip them with the living bird into the blood of the bird that was killed over the living water. He is to sprinkle on the one being cleansed from the tza'arat 7 times and pronounce him clean. Then release the living bird over the open field. The one to be cleansed must wash his clothes, shave off all his hair, and bathe himself in water. Then he shall be clean. After that he may come into the camp, but is to dwell outside his tent for 7 days. Then on the 7th day he is to shave all his hair from his head, his beard, and his eyebrows. He must shave off all his hair. He is to wash his clothes and bathe his body in water. Then he will be clean. On the 8th day he is to take 2 male lambs without blemish, a year-old ewe lamb without blemish, 3/10 of a pint of fine flour as a grain offering, mingled with oil, and a pint of oil. The Kohen who cleanses him is to set the man who is to be cleansed along with those items before Adonai at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The Kohen shall then take one of the male lambs and offer it for the trespass offering with a pint of oil, wave them as a wave offering before Adonai. Then he is to slaughter the male lamb in the place where they slaughter the sin offering and the burnt offering in the sanctuary area, for the sin offering, like the trespass offering, belongs to the Kohen. It is most holy. Then the Kohen is to take some of the blood of the trespass offering and dab it on the tip of the right ear of the one being cleansed, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. The Kohen shall then take some of the pint of oil and pour it into the palm of his own left hand. He is to dip his right finger in the oil that is in his left hand and sprinkle some of the oil with his finger 7 times before Adonai. Then the Kohen shall dab some of the rest of the oil that is in his hand on the tip of the right ear of the one being cleansed, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot, on top of the blood of the trespass offering. From what remains of the oil that is in his hand, the Kohen is to dab on the head of the one being cleansed. In this way, the Kohen will make atonement for him before Adonai. The Kohen shall offer the sin offering and make atonement for the one being cleansed because of his uncleanness. Afterward, he is to slaughter the burnt offering, and the Kohen is to present the burnt offering along with the grain offering on the altar. So the Kohen shall make atonement for him, and he will be clean. If he is poor and cannot afford so much, then he shall take 1 male lamb for a trespass offering to be waved to make atonement for him, plus 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour mingled with oil for a grain offering, a pint of oil, 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, such as he is able to afford. The one shall be a sin offering and the other a burnt offering. On the 8th day he is to bring them to the Kohen for his cleansing at the entrance of the tent of meeting before Adonai. The Kohen is to take the lamb of the trespass offering and a pint of oil and wave them for a wave offering before Adonai. He is to slaughter the lamb of the trespass offering. The Kohen is to take some of the blood of the trespass offering and dab it on the tip of the right ear of the one being cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. The Kohen shall then pour some of the oil into the palm of his own left hand. He is to sprinkle with his right finger some of the oil that is in his left hand 7 times before Adonai. Then the Kohen is to dab some of the oil that is in his hand on the tip of the right ear of the one being cleansed, also on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot, on top of the place of the blood of trespassing offering. The rest of the oil that is in his hand, the Kohen is to dab on the head of the one being cleansed to make atonement for him before Adonai. He is to offer one of the turtle doves or the young pigeon from what is his hand can afford, the one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering with a grain offering. The Kohen shall make atonement for him, being cleansed before Adonai. This is the Torah for one on who is the mark of Tza'arat, who is not able to afford the sacrifice for his cleansing. Adonai spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, saying, Suppose you have come into the land of Canaan, which I give to you for a possession. I put a mark of Tza'arat in a house in the land you possess. Then the one who owns the house shall come and tell the Kohen, saying, Something like a mark has appeared in my house. The Kohen is to order the house emptied before he goes in to examine the mark, so that nothing in the house might be made unclean. Then afterward the Kohen is to enter to inspect the house. He is to examine the mark, and behold, if the mark is in the walls of the house with hollow streaks, greenish or reddish, and appears deeper than the wall, then the Kohen is to go out of the house to the door and close up the house for 7 days. Then the Kohen is to come again on the 7th day, and behold, if a mark has spread in the walls of the house, then the Kohen is to command that they take out the stones which are marked and throw them into an unclean place outside of the city. He shall also have the inside of the house scraped all throughout, and they are to dump the mortar that they scraped off outside of the city into an unclean place. They may then take other stones and put them in the place of those stones. Likewise, he can take other mortar and plaster the house. But suppose the contamination returns, breaking out in the house after he has pulled out the stones and after he has scraped the house, and it has been replastered. Then the Kohen is to go examine. Behold, if the plague has spread within the house, it is a destructive mildew inside. It is unclean. He is to break down the house, its stones, its timber, along with all the house's mortar, and carry them out of the city into an unclean place. Moreover, whoever goes into the house while it is shut up will be unclean until the evening. The one who lies down in the house must wash his clothes, and he who eats in the house must wash his clothes too. But if the Kohen comes in, inspects it, and behold, the plague has not spread within the house after it was replastered, then he shall pronounce the house clean, because the contamination is healed. In order to cleanse the house, he is to take 2 birds, cedar wood, scarlet, and hyssop. He is to kill one of the birds in a clay pot over living water. Then he is to take the cedar wood, the hyssop, the scarlet, and the living bird, and dip them into the blood of the slain bird as well as the living water, and sprinkle the house 7 times. He shall cleanse the house with the blood of the bird, with the living water, with the living bird, the cedar wood, the hyssop, and the scarlet. But he is to let the living bird go out of the city into the open field, so he is to make atonement for the house, and it will be clean. This is the Torah for any mark of Tza'arat, even for a scab, or the Tza'arat in a garment, or for a house, for a swelling, a scab, or a bright spot, to teach when it is unclean, and when it is clean. This is the Torah of Tza'arat.